We are hearable? I don't audible. That's the word. And I am visible. You are not, of course. And you were there. Perfect. So you know
I'm
what's popping.
here. Hi.
Perfect.
Hmm.
You are Mhyrridian.
Yeah.
Um, I have this stream brought to you by Audible.com. If you're looking for, no, I'm just kidding. Um, I have like some questions that I've asked. Oh, not a whole bunch of people, like 7 people or something, and then I have questions specifically for you. So
Sounds like great.
we can just do the whatever comes up, I guess. But first off, last off,
Hi, everybody.
how do you think that this chapter and season of DarksideRP ended up for you and your character?
It sort of ended very quietly for Mhyrridian and Flameheart because they were a couple. So kind of the last part of the season, most everything they did was mostly together. So it sort of ended. We sort of went quietly into that. Um, Good night. We didn't say that we got sleeping sickness. What we told people was we were taking potions and having dreaming adventures.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I tapered off the paper. We were starting to have companies move and split, and some of them were falling asleep, and there just wasn't that same momentum as there was at the beginning with the paper. So it was kind of like, okay, we've done 12 issues of volume 1. It's time to let go of it.
Okay. Yes. The paper is like super huge and important, at least this chapter. Um, but I do believe you were working on it last chapter as well, towards the end. So what sort of like prep work did you do for the paper when you moved away from the Freeport?
It was really just an idea. It was sort of born. I was out fishing with a friend on the docks of the Stone Goddess Tavern, and was like, I was a seamstress tailor with Mhyrridian, and we would hear and somebody would come and say, "Oh, there's been a war going on," and we would have known nothing about it because, unless you were directly involved, you might not know anything about it. But Mhyrridian began to believe that that was something that shouldn't be so secretive, or rather, maybe it shouldn't be something you hear about months later. Um, so that it sort of gave her this and inspired me. But at the time, in the world that we were in, there wasn't a way for me to really print a paper. The notes were the pieces of paper we were able to make weren't big enough for the stories she needed to tell.
Hmm?
So we moved away from Stone Goddess and built on the island where Lazarus lived, Winterholm. And we sort of built the idea of the organization there. I didn't actually start any writing at that time because there just wasn't a medium for us to write on. So, yeah.
Uh, yes. So I visited once or twice, something up there. Mostly just had Flameheart help me get back on my ship. Um, several times. Uh, because I think it was, I don't know, B1 or something, and it was cursed. It was terrible, and I could never get back on my ship. Um, but I did see it before it was real, and that was cool to like be like, oh, okay, this is what they're gonna do, and have no idea that it was gonna be like so big and encompass so
we,
many like stories and stuff.
we
Um,
didn't either. We didn't either. But it sort of, that, to have an idea, you know what it's like when you have an idea, but it's kind of formless and you don't really know how it's going to take shape. That end of that chapter 1 sort of gave us a foundation or some sort of concrete idea of what the paper would look like, as an entity. Maybe not so much as actual paper, but gave me, like, some feeling that it was possible, I guess.
Right. And it was cool. But Mhyrridian
Okay.
didn't
Mm-hmm.
start for the paper.
No.
How did you make Mhyrridian? Is she just you, or is there something else?
The original Mhyrridian was actually a spy for a queen of the north. She started, like, her character personality began as kind of a roguish kind of character
Huh.
on another video game, and she was a Queen's Court spy for the Queen of the North in another game, like I said.
Oh,
And I liked her as a character and intended to bring her over. I wanted to play with my friend Effie, and so I brought her with me. There just wasn't quite. I didn't know enough about Atlas or the community that we were part of to be able to bring that same sort of persona in. So I brought Mhyrridian in with this sort of she forgot her former life situation. And so she basically said, "Look, I've washed up on the shore here. I have nothing. I know no one. I'll do any job you need." And Effie's character, now I'm forgetting her name, at the time, Shayla. Shayla said, "Well, we need a tailor. We need somebody to make fur armor and that sort of thing." And she said, "Sign me up. I'm a quick learner. I'll do it." And so she did. She became, and
wow.
she didn't really do much else.
Uh, so you're saying that you brought Effie to us?
No, no, Effie was with you guys
Oh, okay,
first.
okay. Well, not
Yeah,
with
yeah.
me, actually.
No,
Not with
I
me,
came.
but yeah.
Well, Darkside.
Right.
She found Darkside,
Okay.
and I just think she's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's cool. I think it's common knowledge at this point that I started watching Pony Punch and stuff, but I saw, I think, Effie say something, or she was rated once or something like that, but I started watching her through um Pony Punch, and then it was wild to see her like in game for real. That was very cool. And then all of you sort of nearby. But
Trickle in.
I never actually spoke to her, I don't think. Just y'all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not as
Okay.
Boxer anyway. Or not Boxer to
Because
Shayla.
you were on
Yeah.
the Boxer was on the Freeport with us for a couple of times because you were doing the map thing in chapter 1.
Technically, I did have a home that wasn't there, but I couldn't stay there. So I was at the Freeport a lot, yes. Uh-huh. Um so it sounds like you did RP in other places. Have you been doing RP long?
I've been RPing for about 10 years now. I started in World of Warcraft, which is what I've been streaming lately, which we just talked about before your stream started.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had friends who were role players. I didn't, when I started World of Warcraft about 4 months before their first expansion went out. So I played Classic for about 4 months back in the day. And I met people just along the way. I started on an RP server because I was terrified of player versus player. I'd never played an online video game before. No, I'm serious. I had never seen anything of the like. I mean, I knew about consoles. I had an Atari for like 5 minutes when I was a kid. Just totally dated myself, I'm sure, but I had cousins with consoles, but I just didn't get involved with that. I didn't play it. So I was terrified of what PvP meant or what I'd have to do to PvP. So I went on the RP server. I thought this has got to be safe, you know.
Sure.
And but I really love the mechanics of the game, and I love doing the dungeons and the raids and that sort of thing. And I got really involved with those. But along the way, as I was questing and exploring new areas, I met people who were role players. And they'd always say, "You should role play." And I'd say, "Why should I role play? What is this? What do I what do I do?" And
Right.
they're like, "You're a natural." And I'm like, "How do you know that?" kind of thing about people. I think they were just trying to collect people to their cult or something. But
Yeah,
anyways,
sure.
but eventually I got the hang of it, and I actually enjoyed it. It added something more to the game, particularly when you get in that sort of slowdown of grinding, and you're kind of, okay, I'm bored of this now. Let's find something else to do, and then you meet a whole other kind of community when you start to role play, and then you get to have fun in the game in a new way, which is brilliant. So that's how I got started in role play. Um, and it just kind of went from there. Every little game I played along the way, I went from World of Warcraft to Conan Exiles, and then from Conan Exiles to, but I RP'd in World of Warcraft for a long time. I've got maybe 20 characters in World of Warcraft.
Oh,
Second Life. I skipped over Second Life. I did role play in Second Life for about 5 years. So there was some overlap there. People laugh at Second Life, but I'm telling you,
speaking
I had a
of,
lot of fun there.
Second Life is like made for RP. Now that I think about it, like you can
It's
just
perfect.
completely customize everything, right? So, huh?
Well, it's expensive,
Yeah,
but
that's
I mean,
true.
if you've got enough people willing to pay to do that sort of thing, it's absolutely fantastic. The longest RP I was involved in there was one called Mistar. It was medieval fantasy, and it was fantastic. And the people who ran it were great, and it was almost always full. I did a Hogwarts RP there. I played an 11-year-old girl who was the sister of another friend of mine. That was fantastic. We actually attended classes. It was a lot of fun, and just what people can do there. When we talk about role playing in video games, and people complain about other players wanting to do the mechanics of the game, and how my character doesn't know how to do this and that sort of thing. If you want a game, if you want a place to role play where you have to worry about any mechanics whatsoever, Second Life is that place, because there are no mechanics there. I mean,
Sure.
there's some, but most everything that's there, if there are any mechanics, they're written by other people who reside there.
Right.
And
Wow.
of course, all of them would be angry right about now that I called it a game, but
Well, true.
but whatever. I mean, it is what it is to whoever goes there. But
Man, I forgot about Second Life. Dang. But
yeah, so
we
a lot of characters were born there. My current WoW character, Oddling, was born there. Her personality was born there. It's great.
we I also played in classic vanilla, I guess is what it's called. WoW, and then moved into BC and thought BC was amazing and met a ton of people, but went the exact other way. So interesting that you that's how you started. I went into
Yeah.
PvP and then went into hardcore raiding. That
Well, I didn't stop hardcore raiding. I was a mythic raider right up to the very end, but
nice.
I did get tired of the grind after a while. You just can't do it anymore, and life just takes precedence.
Uh, actual questions. Got it.
I will talk your face off. You picked the wrong person to
No, I
interview
picked the
today.
right person. This is great. I you just talk for an hour and then I'll be like, "Wow, I can't believe it's been this." Okay. Anyway.
It's gone.
um so uh what were the like big events, I guess, of the character that is Mhyrridian and the couple chapters at least that you played on Darkside?
Wow. I think the inception of the newspaper was a big event.
Mhm.
Um, Catching up to all the people I knew wanted to be involved, but trying to find them in character. That's always the challenge, you know. Not not quite rushing to them, even though you're so eager to be a part of that moment. Um, so it's inception and it actually getting off the ground. And really, every moment that someone came to me and said, we were out telling people about the newspaper and now we have more subscriptions for you, was one of those moments. It was great. Um, there were moments that we met pirates that I thought were amazing. We had a great relationship with the Reavers, which was mind-boggling.
Yeah,
um,
I
our
remember.
company partners in the game were married into the Reavers. It was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. I was late to every wedding I was invited to, by the way.
Perfect.
Um, Ladies' Night was for me kind of awesome the first few times we went because it was one of those things that Mhyrridian had said. It had gone on. We'd gone out one time in chapter one, and we were looking to buy a blue crow, and we ran into these people who told us about Ladies' Night, and it was the first time I'd heard of it, and it had existed for hello. It had existed. I'm sorry, I'm getting the hiccups, so I'm trying to get them to stop.
It's cool.
um, it existed for a while, and I never knew anything about it. And I think that's one of the things that, like I said, that prompted the newspaper was so much was going on in our world, and I was so unaware of it, and that irked me to be so unaware of it. So finding them alive and intending to continue that tradition of ladies' night and being together as kind of this familial sort of group was fantastic. Um, the courtship between Mhyrridian and Flameheart was a highlight as well because it was interesting in how it kind of ebbed and flowed, and we must have looked like the greatest odd couple to everybody who met us, which was partially intended but also not intended. Like he surprised me. I never would know what would come out of him. It wasn't that sort of sickeningly sweet romantic situation. It was we were taking turns beating each other with sticks occasionally.
True.
And then towards the end, once they did get together finally, then it became about them exploring their world and her really seeing this new place she was in because she wasn't from Atlas, at least not to her. I mean, she'd washed up on shore. She showed up here, but there was always a part of her that was like, I'm not from here. So now we need to go and see what this world is really about and see what I was missing being a tailor back in town and just sitting there. And those were highlight moments for her as well. To go and kill, to see great big monsters, to find mysteries and magic in that world where when you first get into Atlas, magic isn't the first thing you really think about. You don't really think about Atlas being a fantasy game, I don't think. So when you first get there, um, so to find magic, I guess to find magic was great. Mhyrridian found magic in Atlas. That was another kind of moment. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, totally. I mean, whatever your highlights are your highlights. It's not like, you
Yeah,
can be wrong or whatever. So, a couple things
there's a
there.
highlight.
Thank you so much for being at the free port and for helping me out occasionally. I really appreciate that. Um,
Yeah, we made you some clothes a couple of times.
Several times, yes. um, the the thing you said about Flameheart, um, Flameheart is very important to me, and I like him a lot. Captain Jack, what's up? Um,
He is awesome.
he, I guess, how do you say it? He like plays stoic, and he plays like, oh, I'm not really, involved. I'm not really helping. It's all her. She did everything. Um, how was Flameheart and also the rest of the crew involved in the paper?
They were really invaluable, and he says he did it all, but I couldn't have done it without him, really, because it's one thing to have an idea and to make it happen, but lots of times people just don't know how much work goes on behind it. All the books that had to be made, all the copies that had to be made. I think by the end, I said something like, we had 15 pages, 15 written pages that had to be copied 75 times.
Oh
That
man.
didn't happen in a That didn't happen in a vacuum, and I certainly didn't do that all by myself. No way.
Wow.
He kind of kept the company running. He kept the ships running. He kept the animals and everything going. Magpie and her husband, she wasn't called Magpie this chapter, but since I've known her, she's been Magpie. I'm trying to remember what her name was this past chapter because she killed off her character. And even when we first met her character, because she sounded so much like Magpie and Mhyrridian knew Magpie,
Mhm.
she just kept calling the woman Magpie. So finally she said in character, oh, you can just call me Magpie.
Perfect.
She wasn't that woman, but she wasn't Magpie in character, the character anyways, but she was Magpie to us. So but she was great, and she kept us in food and helped out a little bit, and her husband played as well. But it wasn't just the company members who did stuff. I mean, it was people external of us. It was people who volunteered. It was Raven, or AKA Effie, and her company were out there selling paper. If it was just me myself on foot and on ship trying to get to every piece of little island out there
Uh-huh.
with so many. I mean, at our peak, we were 70 companies in, and multiple copies to many of those companies.
That's nuts.
So that's not something I could do on my own. That's all the result of them going out and RPing. They the brilliance of the idea that I didn't even see coming was that it allowed other people to take a piece of it with them everywhere they went. I don't know how else to say it. It was sort of like they sort of invited themselves into it,
Mhm.
and then they carried it from there, and they carried the paper on their shoulders doing it. It wasn't like all I did was have an idea
Right.
and then write a few stories, and then boom. So it was I couldn't have done it without them. All of them. They're amazing. Everybody. You, Croc, Effie's group, Raven, aka the Pony Express, the company members, Lazarus. Because Lazarus was my first customer. He bought the first paper in the first chapter. He was the first person. He bought a subscription to the newspaper in the first chapter before there was even a newspaper.
Nice.
And it
First
actually was
investor.
also, yeah, and it was a great anchor as well for us to have motivation to find our friends after the storm.
That's a
So it
good
was
point.
wonderful.
Um, I also made notes about what you're talking about, the way the paper worked. And the way I started to think of it was it's like an event, similar to Ladies' Night, except people aren't coming to you. The event goes to them, and then it just like continued to spread because people would trade the paper to other people, tell people what was in the paper. If there was an ad or something, like even if they didn't have the book anymore, they could still say, "Hey, I read this." And it was crazy that it like just filtered out so heavily. Um, do you have any thoughts as to like why it was so prevalent?
That was really a surprise to me because I told you when we talked a minute ago about me streaming, I said I'm going to be boring,
Right.
so I didn't want to do it. People were like, "You're not boring,"
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Fine." Um, I, I think there is a need for something like that, particularly since as a community, we were kind of blocked from going out of character to sort of spread news about things, and we needed a way for information to get around without us having to metagame it, or knowing it meta and having to fabricate some way of bringing it into the scene with us.
Yeah.
Um, Rumor, and to be honest with you, back in the old days, storytelling and rumor milling, that was the way people, particularly in small remote towns, and in our case, in our map, that's really what we became. We were very remote small towns in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of oceans. Um, it's a way for people to get that information. So if you were one of those people who, and there were so many people who were just, who chose the small life, and I don't mean that as a criticism, sort of like they want to be this, they want to be a tailor like Mhyrridian was in the first chapter, and that becomes what you aim for, and it's a small kind of RP and it's a significant kind of RP, but you're not going to run into pirates very often if you're a tailor in a town, right? You're not going to find out too much about what a naval base is doing or what the um, government is doing or
Yeah.
what, who certain people of the government are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they kept saying the king in chapter 1, and I was like, who's the king and where did this guy come from and why does France suddenly rule this way? You know, I didn't
Right.
understand any of that because I was so far removed from it in what we were doing in our RP. So I think that sort of gave people some insight into what was going on in their world, which we crave even today, right? We are so addicted on in our world, and we're just constantly with our phones inundated with information. So it had to be a novelty of some sort to want to know what was going on in our world. It gives us something to talk about, gives us something to share around a fire or in the tavern. I really, to be honest with you, didn't expect it to do what it did.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a credit to the people who said, this is a great idea. And they ran with it. They were like, they just far and above exceeded anything I could have done with it alone,
I
really.
admittedly only read 2 episodes or issues, because I never saw them, um, until I guess very late, when I found them in a library. But anyway, unimportant. Um, I thought it was fun to contribute after the first time because you stopped me or came to me or something, or I was there. I have no idea. But you were like, "Do you have anything, to give to the paper?" And I was like, "No. I mean, nobody cares if I lost another ship." But I,
Yeah, we do. You have
I,
no idea.
I, when you asked, I was like, "No, I don't do anything interesting that anyone else cares about." Probably like everyone thinks. But it seemed like you needed something to put in, so I thought about it and thought about it, and I'm pretty sure the first thing I put in was about Stacy, my sheep, um, which is
I can go
nothing.
back to the second edition or something.
Yeah, but that's nothing. Like it doesn't matter to anyone. Um, and at the same time, like people talked about that to me directly, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that something I made, which I thought was nothing, became a focal point for me to talk about with other people through RP, and they had fun because they thought, "Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is a similar experience," or "Oh, you're stupid." Any of those, it doesn't matter because they thought something, and like just by asking me to make something or asking any of us to make something, you like included us in like this crazy web. It's insane.
Yeah.
Even I, thinking about it, can't believe that it was so big, and I
I
was there.
asked I asked people every path I cross. I asked people for stories. The reason we had such a good relationship with the Reavers, and I say good, but it was tenuous because they were pirates and they were capable of killing all of us at any moment's notice. But it was because I everybody has a story to tell. Boxer's story a million times over. Every time we would see you with Boxer, every time we'd see Boxer, it was I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we lost another ship. This poor guy.
Yeah.
It just made us laugh. So many people have just fun little adventures. And I asked every person who I crossed paths with to tell me to write me a story, to tell me what was going on in their lives. And it being the Blue Star Gazette sort of became like this ticket into places we might not have gone or been allowed to go before it or without it. You know, I think we got robbed one time by somebody who we'd written about in the first issue because someone heard about us. I don't even know how they heard about us, but he was a pirate in the first chapter, somebody black, and he came and was like the first person, and I took dictation and wrote down his story. And the mod was new at that time, and the book broke, and I lost half the story, but this guy, this pirate, was in it. And so I went and I was like, all right, we accidentally ran into this group that he was part of. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to give him an opportunity to tell me his side. I've got one side already. I'm going to give him the opportunity to say the other side. And he was really acidic and abrasive about it and angry, I guess. The character, I don't want to say the player was, but the character was angry that we'd been given this story by this other person and had no interest to give us a story. Stopped the ship one day when we were passing their island and boarded the ship, and I was in my head and Flameheart was driving. Stopped the ship, took about 50 rubies off the ship that we'd just gotten from a friend for a bear. I was mad about that. I was like, we just got those shinies. We just got those shinies. I wanted to make something with those rubies and I couldn't. And he ended up in the second paper named, and that was the last time we were robbed. If we were stopped at all, people said, we want a paper. And we would give them a paper and that would be it. We did have one other group. We did have one other group that stopped us, and we were on our brig. We were out clearing ghost ships from the region, and he wanted us to unlock everything, but he was so terrified that we were going to lock him in our ship. He wouldn't stay on the ship, and that's your fault because it was the same pirate you'd locked in your ship.
Oh my god. Sorry, dude.
We didn't know that at the time, but you made him so paranoid he couldn't even rob us properly. It was terrific.
Wow. Changing lives. You heard it here first. Lock your doors. Yeah. Again, after you unlock them, I guess.
Yeah.
And that is
your
small
antics. You were so clever with your antics that you impacted a lot of people. You just don't know.
Well, I unlocked the door, and then we all walked in, and then I walked back out and locked the door, and then I left. So then they had to blow their way out of the ship. Yeah.
But how many people would have done that? Like lots of people would have just stood there scared or angry that they had been, that somebody had the audacity to rob them in the first place, that they wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I didn't have anything, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. That's great.
I have watched a lot of streams where people board or whatever, and then they're in basically a coffin that they can't get out of if you lock the doors. Like, I don't understand why people don't do it, but they did blow a hole in the ship, so
yeah,
kind of.
Well, I think part of that is they don't want to lose their ship. You know, the ship becomes that sort of personal personal expression of creativity, and then you don't really want it destroyed. But that's Boxer's true. Attitude about, well, I lost another ship. Yeah. One more. Just made that possible. Yeah.
I wasn't even making them after a while. It didn't matter. They just
people were giving them to you.
Appeared, and I would sink them, and then I would get another one.
Great. It's great.
Gosh.
I told you I would talk your face off.
No, it's fine. It's just like when people answer questions, like I have so many places to go, and I have these questions that I already have that I want to like find out about. I just don't know. I don't know where to go.
Ask away.
Um,
Ask away.
what? That is a dog tail. What? So you're streaming now. You weren't streaming then. Um,
No, I wasn't.
I've seen you here. Thanks for your support, and I've seen you other places talking to people. Um, are there things that we as streamers can do that maybe you've seen somewhere else, or that you're implementing that you think the rest of us should do to, I don't know, improve our streams or improve the community?
What I have seen people do is being very supportive of each other. And I try to raid channels that don't have a lot of viewers to get people new out there. I'm new. I'm new to it. I don't really have a huge following. I'm very grateful for those who followed me. My peeps are wonderful. And I try to, when I go look for a stream to raid, I try to raid after every night stream, and I try to look for someone who's maybe got 2 or 3 people in their stream. Um, and I raid them. I don't care what they're doing. I just want, to say hello and meet new people, and you never know when you open that door and somebody new and you meet them, that they don't become part of your community, or you don't become part of theirs in some way.
For
And
sure.
I do sing to my chat.
You sing to your chat? Dope.
I do. Well, somebody clipped me singing the thank you that I do. Sort of an opera. But the reason I started doing that, was because for some reason, and it's probably because I'm so new to it, I don't know how to set everything up properly. So I've probably derped somewhere and it's not doing the alerts. And I was doing a 50 follower drive,
Okay.
and I wouldn't see whenever somebody followed me until after the fact. So then the next stream, I always make a point to go back and say, I'm sorry I missed you following me, but let me give you a shout out. And then, yeah. And and then I sing thank you to them. I flash a little thank you on the screen, and then I sing thank you to them.
Adorable.
And I sing other things, and then I know one day somebody's going to come in and just go, I have to go. I can't handle her singing. But yeah, I do that occasionally. Weirdness.
I don't think
It's
that's
just
gonna happen.
weirdness.
People love small stuff like that, especially if it
Yeah.
happens over and over again.
Yeah, I try to do it every time somebody comes. If they do bits, or I don't know if they cheer or they do anything, I sing thank you and flash it on the screen. So
Okay. Excellent. I will take note. Probably not gonna sing to my stream.
you'd probably sound great.
But I did sing Ocean Eyes to Shrimpies earlier. In my attempt at Maddie's voice. So I'm working on that.
Nice.
Uh
The dulcet tones of Have Heart.
yeah, sorta. Um so there's Flameheart, and we know several other people of the crew. What sort of characters appeal to you, and who do you enjoy playing with when you're RPing?
I enjoy playing with the friends I'm pretty much already connected to, but I definitely like meeting new people. And I've met so many I couldn't put my finger on them. I've watched, and the ones I couldn't meet in character, I watched some streams of. Although I'm careful during the season not to watch too many streams, because then I get confused about what I know in character and what I don't know. But I like the really interesting, intriguing, and different kind of characters. I I like the characters a lot that make me laugh, even if they are a particularly naughty character in terms of being evil or what have you. If they go about it making me laugh, and they're not being really just kind of jerks to be jerks, those are the ones I really enjoy to be part of. And there are people out there with the skill to invite you in, that sort of draw you in, almost like it's their nature to do that sort of thing. They don't even think about it. You're just sort of there. Those are the people, the kind of people I love to role play with. Um, what was the other part of the question?
I don't know. That sounded good.
Okay.
I agree about the drawing you in people. Also, Denver. That was a joke. I wasn't really trying to sing that. Also, I can't sing that with my camera on, so not gonna do it again.
Because they'll turn a pretty shade of pink, probably.
Yeah, yeah, not yeah. Um, Also the lyrics. Uh, but on the drawing you in part, the so personally, someone said to me, it was I think his name is CG14. His, I don't know, just assumed. Um, Said that Boxster was limiting on RP back in the day, not more recently. So I tried to change him. Um, do you think that there are things people do that limits RP, and like how do you get away from things like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see people put walls up all the time to their RP. In part because I think they're trying to make an authentic character, but we forget when we're doing that how complex the human spirit is and how multifaceted we are. We aren't just one thing. You aren't ever just Taylor. You know, you aren't ever just shy. You aren't ever just a pirate. You know, there's so many more facets to who we are that that people do kind of limit themselves. They might limit themselves for personal reasons. They might limit themselves because, you know, not. I've met people who said, I'll never let my character get involved with another person's character. For whatever reason, be it real life or emotional, they don't want that. That's scary to them. Um, um, there was something else I was going to say. So yeah, I have seen people do that, and I think they should be careful to do that. But I'm also and sometimes I'll say, I think you are limiting your character um, by limiting what they can do, or by saying, you know, oh, I can only do this, or I'm only strong enough to do that. And particularly in the time frame, the period time frame where Atlas is set, those people were extraordinarily strong and intelligent. They may not be book intelligent in the way that we are these days, but they had a very pragmatic sort of spirit to them. And if something needed doing, they did it. So when you put yourself in a box, other people start to put you in there too. And you ultimately shut yourself off from a community when you do that, which makes the game, to me at least, a very lonely place. And after a while, um, you know, we're characters on a stage when we role play. I'm sorry for the noise, I'm fidgeting.
I figured, and it's fine. You're welcome to.
Um, um, when we're characters on a stage in reality, we have to think about our audience. That when we're present with our audience, even though there are other actors too, and there are other characters on the stage as well, and conversely, we're their audience as well. We have to be thinking about what we're presenting to the audience, not just as streamers. I'm not talking about just as streamers. I'm talking about every person that kind of crosses our path is a potential audience for what our characters are trying to do with their lives, their purpose. And we have to convey that in some way. But if you box yourself in, if you put yourself over here and label yourself, you sort of shut yourself off from entertaining other people, which is kind of to me what role play is about. You're telling a story, and that storytelling is entertainment for other people. It's for us too, because we're having fun doing it, or we wouldn't do it, but we're entertaining other people. So yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Kind of started to ramble.
I got into we'll call it a discussion with Shrimpies um about this exact thing earlier, and I'm glad that I asked you this. Um, yeah, so that's so this entire conversation is a conversation I sort of had on parallel lines earlier. Boxer says no a lot, um, but CG pointed out that that when you're awkward and you're silent and that sort of thing, like that's what I was doing, that's what I was going for. Um, but there's no way for a human to respond to that. Either you overcome that other person entirely, or you don't, and then you just leave. So that's sort of what he was pointing out. But follow up
You
question.
need you need feedback. You need interaction for it to work.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, exactly. So just in my own personal whatever, um, he said that, and I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and decided that Boxer needed to speak faster. So I did that, but I couldn't contain the same emotion or whatever it was. So his voice went lower to try and keep it what I was shooting for. He spoke more, and then every time I said no, I said something else immediately after.
I, the thing I liked about Boxer from beginning to end was the Eeyore quality to Boxer. And Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh, in the Winnie the Pooh story, has those other characters willing to support him being the Eeyore character. So I don't think there was too much wrong with Boxer. You probably did. You maybe could have brought a little more to the table. I'm not saying you could have or not. I'm just saying the other person in their advice maybe said you could bring more to the table, and that's possibly true. But what helps that kind of character really shine and you see them and they become a favorite character as Eeyore has. I mean, lots of people love Pooh, but everybody loves Eeyore. And is that the people that come around that character sort of um, they sort of spotlight that character by being their character. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like
Yeah.
there's a nice little contrast, and you need those sort of contrast characters in there. Things flavor and character, and so I think he was great. I think what you needed was a group willing to play off of Boxster's personality. Being a loner might have been more detrimental to you than. But I thought Boxster was great. That's why every time we saw you, we're like, Boxster's here.
He yeah. So a lot of stuff happened, but basically, when I decided on the sad Eeyore kind of thing, I did watch Eeyore. I watched every clip of Eeyore that I could find. And I've said this before. I don't think Eeyore is a good character. I don't like Eeyore personally, because he is incredibly selfish. He only says like, "Oh, this happened to me. It's fine," or "I lost my tail. I don't know where it is," or whatever. But he never ever says thank you in any clip I could find. He never ever says things like
No, he does say he has a quote where he says, "Thank you for remembering me." Right.
I
There
think
is
that's
that quote.
once. Maybe.
Maybe.
I will agree. I think that's his birthday
Maybe.
at the end.
Maybe. But there are those kinds of people in life, and his being there demonstrates for the audience how we can still love that person and respect that person without forcing them to change for our benefit. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Like
of
they
course.
and so the stories that come around him teach us how to positively see the brighter side of things.
True. But I couldn't take it anymore. So I had to bail out. So
Okay.
I just couldn't take stuff from people anymore. Like I couldn't take freebies. I was done. So he had to change.
All right. Well,
And he
we
had to
like
change
giving
anyway. So
stuff.
yeah, I know, I know.
We like giving stuff.
It is
It
Mhyrridian.
is there. Hi.
Um just like a sort of facet, I guess, of the whole conversation. What do you think makes this RP thing that we're doing different than acting or improv or whatever we see on stage and in movies?
I don't think it's that different from improv, to be honest with you. Um, Maybe different from a play in the sense it's not all pre-written out for us, and how we think it's going to go is still a surprise to us. I tell people sometimes I wait for the character to tell me what it wants me to do, um, and who it's going to be, because it might change. Like, I might think this is a really nice character. It's a really good character. It's going to do this, this, and this. And then it turns out that it really likes blowing people up, or it really like I have had a tendency where characters end up being thieves. Even in the smallest sense, they sort of can't keep their hands off of other people's stuff. And I don't know why that is, but the characters sort of have a mind of their own when you play them, and that you don't see in TV or television, or well, television, TV, same thing, or on stage. Maybe some of that. Maybe there's some spirit of interpretation for the actors who do those things on stage, but it's not written for us. We sort of hi go too.
Yes.
um,
A whole hour.
we have to figure it out for ourselves. We have to figure out every step of the way. How does Mhyrridian feel about that? How's she going to handle this situation? And lots of times, the person on the other side is somebody I want to still hang out with, I want to still be friends with, but dang, if they didn't just do something that should have pissed Mhyrridian off. I have an example of that. Flameheart's character Eric and Conan, and my character Carrie. He left the city of Boru without a word. He left in the middle of the night, and Carrie was just out exploring and trying to make a connection with. She'd found signs of life at a site in the jungle, and she was trying to catch that person being around. And she missed it. So I was on my way back to the city, and I. Sorry. So
Sorry.
what happens when you hang out with me? So I'm on the way back to the city, and I see this new sort of castle type situation sitting on an island in the middle of the Great River. And I walk up, and I don't recognize that, or the character doesn't recognize the other person at the moment. I knew the night before he did it because he told me, but the character had no idea. And then she recognizes his voice, and she's like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you are like my best friend. We've done everything together. You've just left the city that we've been building together without a word." Like, he left in the middle of the night, and then I know, like, I love to role play with them, so I'm down for anything. But at the same time, my character was hardcore mad. Like, she was hardcore
Yeah.
mad, and if I'm very forgiving, so I can't hold a grudge to save my life. But I think she would have, and that was really hard for me to walk away from that moment. He was like, "Do you want to see inside?" And she just walks away. So that was a hard moment. It's a hard moment to do those sorts of things, and you have to be deciding those things in every encounter. Nobody else is telling you what to do. Nobody else is telling you the character's got to walk away. There's no mental preparation for that. The character tells you, and you go, "Well, crap, now I got to do it." It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Hmm.
I think I saw you do that a lot. I think I saw you do some things that I think would have been hard for me to do behind the scene, and you just seem to do them with ease with your character. But I think that's great when people do it.
Yeah, there were some times that like
He did.
I spent all of my money on something, or I would like have a plank and just let the ship sink or something. Not let the ship sink, but like
Oh, the secret's out now.
I I
He could
admit
have repaired that ship and he let it go, y'all.
uh I don't think there were any that were savable, but I guess not the planks. Um, because I didn't carry planks for a long time until Elizabeth yelled at me over and over and over and over and over and over. Um, but there were definitely times that I did stupid junk that I was like, if this goes bad, it's fine because my character is built on loss. He's the avatar of loss, so it doesn't matter even if I lose whatever it is. Um, really, the only times I was really mad when I lost Cianathus, Fox. Yep, that's all I can think of right now.
That's great.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought of a question and then I lost it.
It's okay.
All right, I'll try and think on it. Are there any rules that you would change about our world?
That's a good one. I mean, I host my own Conan server, have my own rules for that. I think it's individual for the people that are for the people who are running it, and because they're making the sacrifice to run it, I think how they want to do it is probably the best way to do it. I haven't run into any rules in Darkside, if that's what you're talking about, or do you
Yeah,
mean in that? Okay,
yeah,
where I said this is a really immature or this is a really immature rule, or by putting this rule in here I feel like they're insecure, or and I haven't really come up on a rule that I felt that they were limiting my character agency, which is a big one for me. Absolutely the biggest. I feel like anytime a server or a sim or company or anything like that begins to limit character agency, you're in trouble. Um, I did have that happen a couple of times in the long, long past ago where people were, but that's born out of fear. That's born out of people being afraid that someone will misuse a privilege. And it does happen. So then other characters have to suffer, but that's inappropriate. That's an inappropriate way to deal with that situation, is my opinion.
mhm,
But in general, I don't think I've brushed up against a rule where I felt like this should probably change because this really limits my character, or this limits. There are rules in a sense that I feel like because they're a hardcore role playing server, you may not get to experience as much of the game that you should be able to experience in terms of, because if you wanted a game where mechanics weren't the case, there are places you can go where there are no mechanics. So if you were gonna completely negate the mechanics of the game, why be in that format? You could take this exact same resource to somewhere else where the mechanics weren't an issue, and build that world. Um, so I don't think so. That's the only place where I think they really limit people is that they don't seem to. But they do seem to be supportive. Like people wanted to kill the Kraken, and they were supportive of people doing that content. So I don't feel like they're being harshly limiting in any way. I
yeah,
really like them. I think they're pretty cool. I really do. I think they're professional and cool about how they do things, and they have a nice environment. And obviously, they're doing something right, at least from the outside.
right. Um, I also think that there should be like a, I don't know, theme or lore or something to the server per season or something. But at the same time, repelt, like my next
It
character, it's
seems
not gonna
like,
matter. So yeah,
well, there kind of is a game lore. There is a built-in game lore to Atlas that most people kind of don't see. There's a goddess in Atlas that most people don't know. There's magic, like I said, in Atlas that most people don't know about. And there was an overarching story about the different navies that were there. Sort of, but I feel like nicer if we make a collaborative story as a full group, and then we can look back on it and go, this is the story of this chapter,
yeah,
which is so much better than having to conform to a story somebody else puts there for us, if that makes sense.
yep.
I guess I just don't like being bossed around, Treatbelt. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, Gob, she also just said I should take my next character elsewhere. In not so many words, but I heard it in there somewhere. So,
Who said you should take your next character? Where? What?
just the way that I was thinking about it, so I'm gonna rethink it. Um, but that's me. That's not you. It's fine. Um,
Were you thinking of bringing Baxter back another season chapter? Or are you gonna
no, no.
do something different? Oh.
He will sleep probably with Robin until they come back. And then they'll be pirates.
He was already heading that way, anyways. Was
No, I spent a long time trying to fix him. Um, and then that didn't work, and I was really frustrated. Um, wasn't really having fun, and then he was, I don't know, hunted or whatever by Robin, and then
wait, who's Robin? I don't know who Robin is.
who's Robin? Um,
Sorry.
that is his fiance. Um, there was like a long swing of up there at the end of the chapter that you missed, um, where everything
Sorry.
was going right and it was terrifying and I didn't know what to do. But I mean, it was something different, so it was good.
It's remarkable. That's awesome.
Didn't see that coming. So you got married and Boxer got engaged.
Happy endings for everyone.
Well, not everyone.
Yay.
No.
There were a lot of there were a lot of weddings. There were a lot of weddings.
There
I think
were a
that's
lot of weddings. There were a lot of weddings that immediately led to battle
death.
and death. Yeah. Died with the one they love. Mhyrridian's wedding was the best. Yes.
We did have some awesome stuff, but that's Knights of the Rifle.
I disagree.
Oh, brain.
I think your what are they called? Vows or whatever? Ooh. So touching, so moving. Yeah. Too much. Oh man.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh god. It was wonderful.
But it was true. Every bit of what was in those vows had been things that Flameheart had done on Mhyrridian's behalf to bring them together. So it was the truth in their. Yeah. Plus that galleon under the waterfall was beast, and the dragon. I couldn't believe he got the dragon because he kind of let it slip. He was going to do the dragon thing, and then he was like, "No, I'm not going to do it. There's not going to be enough time." And I don't know if that was on purpose. Like he did that to fake me out, like. So I would drop the expectation of it being there, and then it was there, and I was like, "He got the dragon!"
Did you see what they did to get it?
I did see part of someone's stream. I think it was Rum Runners.
Yeah, it was
that helped
crazy.
him get that.
Yeah.
And I never really got to thank them because there was so much going on that day and I was so worried. I would have liked to have spent more time with the Rum Runners to know Mira better. I did. I can't remember. I can't. Hellbound Johnny is his theme name, and now the names escape me. But they were great, and I like I liked a lot of those people.
Yeah,
40,000.
you hit the big
He
names.
yeah he grinded out all the gold to get that bad boy too. It was awesome.
Yeah.
He did. You're brilliant, dude. Gotta say it.
Uh, so I guess on that same vein, what were I mean, you heard about a lot of stuff, but was there any sort of events that you wish you had been, I guess, present at or something like that?
Yeah, I wanted to be part of battles at sea with the Navy. I had asked for a ride along to cover it as a story, and I even approached Commodore Fada about it as Mhyrridian and said, "Look, I want to ride along for a battle at sea. I want to ride with you guys, but if I can't ride with you guys, I know of some pirates that will let me come along." And he was like, "Well, what if you go to Wolfsong instead? Because maybe that'll," but that never sort of worked out time wise. And there was one time I think they were anticipating a battle, or there was a call to battle or call to arms or something that happened. And they sort of closed the port off and wouldn't let anybody in and dismissed us. And I couldn't get hold of an officer to do a ride along. So I never got to cover an at sea battle. Um, that's something that was a huge thing for me. I really wanted to get it in the paper for people, and I never got to do it. I tried.
Wow.
I did try. I went all over the place trying to get people to take me along, but it was a matter of timing. To we knew out of character that things were about to go down, but it was like, can we show up? How can we tell them we know something's up?
Yeah.
Can we justify this in character in some way, shape, or form? And if we couldn't, we just had to go around it, and I would just stare forlornly into the Navy sea waters as we passed them. Just,
Oh.
oh, I want to be there. I can't go in. And yeah, so Battle at Sea was something I never got to cover for the newspaper, and I didn't even really get to witness it ever, as other than ghost ships battling, that sort of thing. That's on my bucket list. Battle at Sea. Yeah,
Wow.
still.
Did not
Yeah.
see that coming. That is hardcore. Um, I was expecting like, oh yeah, somebody's event or whatever, but Battle at Sea, that's
Sorry.
dope.
No, we went to most of the events we went to that people told us about. We went to Painter's Night. Shout out to those people. We went to Ladies' Night. There were a couple of things I never quite made it to. I know there were a couple of people that tried to run a town, and they tried to have a market, and we never got there before they closed up. So there were some events. I really would like to see more people doing those events, but it's a lot of work to do that. But those would have been great to cover too.
Since I equate the paper as a an event that sort of happened every week, um, do you have any tips for people who are trying to either host events or do some sort of, I don't know, traveling everywhere kind of, I don't know, whatever you would
Yes,
call
those
your
that
thing?
were people. You're right, Shelter. Those were the people. I didn't get to go to them.
Hillsborough.
Um, Persist one, and recruit allies, recruit people willing to talk about your effort. Um, honestly, I didn't think the paper was that big of a deal, but people were just like, "This is great, this is brilliant." And I was like, "Is there something wrong with them?" Because it's really not that big of a deal. Come on, it's just a newspaper.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that other people thought it was a great idea was just stellar. That's how it came alive. Was that other people thought it was amazing. So persist and believe that other people believe in it as much as you do, kind of a thing. Um, yeah, do it. Do it. Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
I've talked to a lot of people who have said, I played my character. I never expected to be famous or well known, or I didn't expect this event to have this many people, or I don't think I'm important, but all these people know my name. Um, it's wild that we all sort of think that, and then like people care so much about whatever it is. Like, very cool.
It's mind-boggling. It's just like, what are they thinking? What's wrong with them? But y'all are great. Without the audience, we wouldn't be anywhere. So thank you for being a tremendous audience.
Yeah, and also involved because everybody in the audience was also part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interactive audience. That's
um, what else do I have written down? And I tried to come up with new questions, they're fresh, but did I miss any of the old ones? Oh, how has this season or chapter or whatever, um, how is what you've experienced going to change, do you think, how you play or RP in the future?
I don't think it'll change much in terms of how I RP. Maybe what I RP. It'll maybe change what I RP in the future. To see that something like that's possible when I didn't think it was possible. I've never seen that. I've never seen a newspaper done. I've seen a newspaper done like that in like Second Life.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just, it would just be sent out in notices. It wouldn't actually be hand delivered to people. Here's your newspaper, kind of a thing. That's something I'd never seen anybody do before. And I think part of me is a little bit worried, like, I don't know if I'll have something as cool as that again,
Yeah.
because that was pretty cool. So there's a part of me that's a little sad, and the question sort of rings: will there be a volume 2 in my head? But it was a lot of work on the back end to do. Like, I have a dry erase board with all the like grids and who was going to be delivering it, because there was a lot of coordination about who would be delivering where,
Mm-hmm.
and why they would be delivering. I had to keep track of the the ledgers and everything, and people helped with that too. They helped with the back end of that. There was a lot of work in it, which was I had the time for, but I don't know if going forward I'll have the time for. So we'll see. Um, yeah, I don't think it really changed anything that I do, because it was such an inspired moment that you just kind of hope for that kind of inspiration again. I don't really.
Do you think, like I said, a lot of people know my name or Boxer's name? A lot of people know, I would say, your work. I don't know if necessarily they knew
Yeah,
your name.
they knew the Gazette. They
Yeah.
didn't know Mhyrridian really, even though her name was just about on every page. It was like, there were a couple of times where it was like, that's the newspaper lady. You don't say anything, sort
Right.
of a thing. But but that was it. There were only a couple of times where that happened.
Do you think?
It was I would say, I'm Mhyrridian Adore, and they'd be like, and then I'd say, I run the newspaper. Oh,
Oh man, you should have gotten more credit in character, for sure. But do you think we can go back, or not go back, but like if it's not great next time, if it's just whatever we want to play, do you think that'll be fine?
I think if inspiration strikes, if the muse is present the way I hope that she is, the next time will be great in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, can I go back? You mean, can I go back to being the newspaper lady?
Well, I mean, can you go back to being
I know nobody.
yeah, nothing. But not nothing, just because there's a lot of people, and this is what I really want to get into with.
Meridian is at Strongbridge a lot, Denver. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I
Oh
interrupted
no,
you.
it's cool. I was not. I was there once, twice maybe. Um, there's a lot of people who consider themselves support, background,
Yeah.
whatever, and they're not. And I'm going to tell them to their face, or their voice at least that they're not, because I got some things lined up. But like that feeling that, you know, nobody really knows who you are or whatever, it kind of sucks, even if that's fine. And I don't know. I don't know if I can like keep the fire if I'm that.
Um, fame, but fame is finicky and it's subject to what people feel in the moment. So, the Blue Star Gazette was famous, but Mhyrridian really wasn't.
Hmm.
That suited her just fine, really, to be honest with you. And it could have helped in a lot of RP situations as well that maybe I wasn't aware of at the time. Maybe had they known exactly who Mhyrridian was in the moment, they might not have said what they said. Although she was pretty forthcoming early on that she was the newspaper woman,
Right.
which was a reputation that both helped and hindered. Like I said it earlier, it was that ticket to not be hurt by too many people. We really didn't get robbed too often, and we were at sea a lot.
True.
So, uh, but at the same time, it hindered some of the people we could have gotten to know pretty well because they really had to be guarded around us. But fame is so fickle. And it's so hard, and groups that get together kind of hype what's triggered them, what's made them an impression on them. So I don't expect to be famous, but I've never been good at being a supporting character. I've always been, like, probably Flame can tell you, I'm sort of full speed ahead. I am. I really am. I'm driving every RP that I'm part of, whether other people pay attention to it or not, because our motivation has to be our own fun first. So I want to have fun with other people and I want other people to enjoy what I'm doing. But if I'm not having fun, it won't matter. So I have to be doing it for my fun and not for the potential fame of it, which I would say you probably should be doing as well. Not worrying about the fame that you had, but rather having fun with where you're going next.
For sure. I didn't, like everyone, I guess. I wasn't gonna be a name that everybody knew, and then all you people were talking about me, so there was nothing I could do. But I don't think that I don't think that GobTube is support at all. I don't think that Denver ever was. Um, and I don't think any of us are because, like, um,
That's right. Janie, you're awesome. Sorry.
no, it's
I
cool.
couldn't help. I talk to my chat too, to my own detriment.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
died talking to my chat. Like, I'll be talking to them and die.
I get distracted as well. But by support I mean like people think that they're not the story. They're not the mayor of the town, or they're not the crazy trader who like has a flamboyant whatever or anything. They just think they're helping other people do their own RP, and that's not support. Like if you're helping someone RP, you're literally the most important person in the world because you logged in, and um, the story can continue. If you didn't log in, there's no story, and Pony Punch talks to his dragon for an entire chapter. So, like, the people are gonna tell their own story or whatever with or without you, but it's so much better if there's a second person or a third person. And I did say a flamboyant trader. I didn't mean to describe you specifically. That was cool though. Um
I think that there might be. I think there might be a greater distinction between being supportive and being a supporting character.
okay.
I think you can be a main role character and still support those other roles around you, if that makes sense. So to think you are being supportive, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're not on the main stage as well, if that makes sense. That you have the potential to be on the main stage just because of the impression that you make on other people. And it's
Mm,
really not us who gets to determine our fame. Like, you don't get to determine if you were the main character of the story. Other people kind of do.
that's
I
true.
think it just depends on how memorable you are. I mean, maybe we're set up for that by Hollywood. They set up the main character and the supporting characters. But there have been gobs of movies where the supporting character really stole the limelight. They
Mhm.
were the one who, without them, there wouldn't have been a story. And there isn't a story, like I said, without the audience or the supporting cast. I think you would have benefited a lot more with Boxer with a more of a supporting cast that could play off of you being that Eeyore character. Anyway.
Um, I think that, like, me personally in my life, I would be a supporting character or whatever, but this is just all I can draw on. Um, I'm
I have a question for you,
Yeah,
though.
sure. What's up?
So Mhyrridian went to Boxer's birthday party, and at the
Yeah,
birthday party, she got the little bunny rabbit thing.
yeah. Let's
And
talk about
then,
that, shall we?
yeah, because first of all, Mhyrridian is not the person to give a gift away lightly because she collected the gifts, every gift that people gave her. She sort of, and I do that with a lot of characters. I sort of keep gifts very sacred, even wanting to continue them further, and going so far as to acquire them for another chapter, another season. But in this particular case, the rule of the server
Mm-hmm.
put me in a place where I had to make a choice between what one person had given me and what another person had given me, and what my company needed to
Mm-hmm.
have. So I had to get rid of that bunny,
Uh-huh.
and Mhyrridian didn't want to. So at first there was this guilt situation, and they talked about it between them, Flameheart and Mhyrridian, and they were going to lie to him. And then Boxer found the bunny rabbit somewhere else. And I
Yes.
thought, this is it. And I feel like that changed something within their whatever they had going on. I couldn't say that Boxer and Mhyrridian were really friends. Like, it wasn't like an intentional friendship between them.
Right.
Mhyrridian was happy to see him and grateful for his gifts, and found and also grateful for the stories that he submitted. But how did Boxer feel about that? How did he receive that?
Um, I would say in the previous chapter they weren't friends. Because of the way that there was no like ability to communicate. We were just on like different schedules or whatever. So when I needed something, I had to go through Flameheart and like do all this work and like leave notes, and it was annoying me personally, and like it didn't seem to work for Boxster. Then um the paper and like being interested in his stories and stuff, we spoke more. Um Boxster didn't really talk to people he didn't like. Um Boxster didn't really talk at all, sort of early on. Anyway, um then I gave you the bunny, and it was so funny to see that bunny at Sailor because only I could see that it was blue, and they had renamed it, but I could see that it was blue, so I knew it was the bunny even though they didn't know it was blue. Um that was really weird because then I started to think like maybe I'm tripping, and like it became this mystery and we had to work it out, and like several weeks went by. Um but
It was a magic button.
yeah, uh when we went to capture Olaf, who was trying to shoot Croc, um we used that bunny as a joke to see if he could see the bunny and see what color it was, but then we had to knock him out or whatever. So Um, that bunny, like
Took
it's
on a life of its own.
yeah, so it continued its own RP completely separate of any of us because we were all trying to like treat it like an actual bunny, instead of just kill it or leave it at a free port or whatever. Um,
Right. Mm.
but as for the
So,
the separation
so
thing,
her passing it on gave it a whole other life, sort of thing.
right? Yeah. I the only reason I stopped coming is because I had so much to do. Um, I had so many people to see and so many things. Um, I had to put up like so many notices and stuff. Um, I just couldn't go to the Freeport or the paper anymore. And then I stopped losing things, so all the people that I needed, I didn't really need anymore. So I had to focus on the story that I was telling, and that was lame, I guess.
Well, no, I think that's good. I don't think you should. I don't think any of us really should feel obligation there. You know, the obligation should be to the story more than to each other. But I had wondered, you know, how does Baxter, the character, feel about that bunny? You know, it having been a gift, and blue was definitely her favorite color. So there was some thought to the gift, I thought,
Uh,
and
it was
maybe
a
not, but
joke. It was
okay.
blue, and it was named Floof, and it was supposed to be the dev Floof from Discord.
Oh,
But
okay.
nobody was like, "Oh yeah, a bunny that's blue. Okay, Floof, got it." Nobody did that, so that's fine. It doesn't matter. It was my own joke. Hmm. I
All right, good to know. Good to know there wasn't any like actual hard feelings
no
in
no.
Box
Well,
Mhyrridian.
I mean, Boxer treated it like everything. As soon as Henry said, "Hey, I got this bunny or whatever," and I was like, pretty sure I gave that bunny to someone. Then Boxer was like, "I guess it was a terrible gift. That's fine." So,
Aw,
but that was
that's a
everything.
great gift.
That's not you. That's Um, yeah, I thought it was a good gift.
It's wonderful.
Thank you for coming to my birthday and for supporting me. Or Boxer's birthday. It wasn't my birthday. They probably did know, but how do you react in character? Yeah, I don't know. That's
That's,
tricky.
that's
That is a question that I didn't ask you that I have asked other people. How do you think? Uh, and you say almost nothing in Discord, but how do you think what you've said in Discord or outside of the game has affected maybe your relationships in the game or in RP?
I probably scare everybody off. I don't know. I'm so outspoken about stuff. You know, if I think something, I usually say it, and they're probably like, "Okay, time to leave. Um, let's get out of here." Okay, mom, thanks. Um, is at least that's the reaction I get from Flameheart. Thanks, mom.
Perfect.
um, so if they're not running for the hills, they're usually saying something smart back at me. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to be pretty outspoken. What I say, I usually mean at least in the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea to say it until like maybe a week later, and then I go, oh, that
Yeah.
shouldn't have come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I won't think that way about this interview. What
No,
was I
no,
thinking?
for sure. No. Don't worry. If it happens, I'll just delete it and no one will know what happened except for all these people in chat.
Yeah.
Um, I also think that you are fierce on Discord, but I mean, it's not like, you've said anything that's like, this should be this way. This is my opinion and I'm pretty stuck in it because I have these experiences. So I think what you say is whatever it's called, thought through or illuminated
Oh,
or whatever.
well, you'll find my biggest pet peeve is that whole putting things in the box thing. I think the limiting and being really careful about character agency. I typically whenever I speak out in Discord, it's because people are trying to close a box hardcore around someone or around something that they're doing for their character, and I'm like trying to pry them back out. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and we sat in the car one day at the movie theater, and I asked her a personal question, which I won't repeat for you, but I said, and how does that kind of define you to you? And she gave me this like really long label for herself, and my only piece of advice to her was don't get stuck under that label. Once you label yourself, that's where you kind of end up staying. So I really I see so many people go, I can't do that. My character's not going to do this, or my character's not going to do that. And I just think, you're just limiting yourself. What I see happen is they use that rule that they have for themselves to limit other people. And that sort of irks me. That's a big pet peeve of mine. It takes away character agency. And it also takes away our ability to be creative, because and it's really detrimental to beginner role players, because there's sort of unspoken rules to role play that people tend to make up and other people latch onto because they like it, and that's fine if it makes them happy to do that. But it makes people new to role play scared of doing something wrong. And I don't think you can do something wrong. Even in the beginning, when you make those metagaming mistakes, or you make those god modding mistakes, as part of the evolution of growing into being a role player. And we have to be careful that we're not making them feel judged and then they run away from it because they may have so much to bring to the table, right? So I think those are the times I've only really spoken out in the Discord channel. I tried not to ever be really critical, and I don't think to be super critical of. I've really enjoyed Darkside and everybody I met there, which is
I can't agree with you more. It's amazing. Um, I just keep saying this, but I'm pretty new to like RP like this and stuff. Um, pretty much every defining moment of Boxer, at least early on, I broke the rules, and then like 2 weeks later, I would be like, "Oh shoot, I broke the rules. There's no way to fix it. I have to keep going." Which is kind of the reason I kept logging in over and over and over. But yeah, Boxer is the way he is because I was stupid and didn't know. So yeah, it's cool.
I'm glad you stuck it out.
Yeah, well, there was some times when I was like, I'm never gonna play this game again. But cool. Dang, I thought of something else. Talked about Discord. I can't remember. We just keep going, and I don't have notes because I'm trying to focus. Um, can you do an accent? Good question. Thanks, chat.
Again, I have this Toba accent that I did in the Conan universe. I did Toba, and this was her way to talk. And I talk like this so much, even in the out of character channels with this accent, that when I finally started to talk like this again, people were like, "Oh my god, that's what you really sound like."
Do your accent all the time.
Really sound like.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I did it in character, but it's really the only one I can kind of do. Although I've been working on an Irish accent, but Tova creeps in. Like I got to keep Tova out because I really care about doing the Irish accent, but I got to keep working on it, And then Tova just butts herself right in, and so the Irish sort of tilts towards Kiwi sometimes. So I got to keep working on it, but I'd like to do an Irish character, like really full on, full time, in and out of character, so nobody knows until till I stop and drop it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can. Irish people will know. They'll be like, "Who's this?" Crazy.
If
So
if I could have done, no one would believe Boxer's my real voice. Oh well, I mean Scar did, but other than that, um, I think that the streamers that like do their voice nonstop are really interesting. Um, I don't know if I want to do that though, but it's
I
it's
I
fun.
liked the guy who led the Reavers. His voice was great, and I didn't realize his was a voice morpher until one day he took it off on his stream, and it was like, holy cow! But yeah,
Eh.
I did download a voice morpher to use too, just to see, because I've shocked people by saying actors before, and they go, really? Yeah, but not on voice. Like I've not done voice. I was like curious if I could pull off a male character just for funsies. Solution. Shout out to Solution. Yeah, he's
Um,
great.
yes, I also have a voice morpher, but I'm trying really hard to do my voice myself because I think that's more fun and easier, and I don't want to have to figure out how to use all the junk. Um, and Shrimpy's told me to. So I've been working on that, but I don't know. I think it's so cool to not know that someone sounds like they do, and
Yeah,
then have it hit you in the face like 2 months later.
yeah.
Like Ray Ormy, who played Nikona, plays Nikona pretty much everywhere, but she's so good at her voice that she does it on stream too. And I thought that that was her accent for months until
Yeah.
she said hey to someone, like one of her friends or something in stream, and I was like, whose voice was that? It
It's
was her.
great.
Yeah.
That reaction is great every time it happens. I would like to bring a Tova character to Atlas because Tova was really iconic. Um, for me, at least in Conan, she was. And then if I can pull off the Irish, there was this beautiful role player I met one time. She was phenomenal. She did more of a Scottish accent, but
Mm-hmm.
she was a healer. She was kind of like a medicine woman type personality, and I absolutely loved her character. So as an homage to her, I'd like to do something similar to that at some point. But
Ooh.
she was, yeah. But I don't know about next chapter. I don't know yet. I can't. Like, did we bring Mhyrridian and Flameheart back from where they went, or what? Do we start new? I
Do
don't
you
know.
have any tips for us who aren't GobTube about learning accents and doing them?
Watching video. Well, Tova's was completely innate. Tova's voice came all her own. She's kind of. I guess she sounds a little bit. I think Ruski, the Russian, sort of kind of slips in there a little bit, but I absolutely. Some people don't like her, but I love when Sofia Vergara speaks. Um, and it started out, Tova was supposed to sound like Sofia Vergara, and Tova's voice became that sort of warped variation of how she speaks. So, it could be somebody that you really admire how their accent or how they talk. I love her sense of humor. She's just hilarious. And how she talked inspired me. And then Saoirse Ronan, I think her last name's Ronan. I could be wrong about that, but Saoirse,
Is that the guy who
Saoirse.
wears the leotard and talks like these? Okay, very nice. That guy.
No, it's a girl, Saoirse. She played Ladybird.
Come on, that's
She
funny.
played Ladybird in a movie.
Anyone?
Yeah, it is.
Anyone?
But I have heard somebody talk like that before. Um, so she's the inspiration for the Irish persona, at least on the voice side of it. So if you have a favorite actor or a favorite personality that you like, no, it's Saoirse. I gotta find her name. I'm probably massacring
Yeah, Sasha.
Saoirse.
Sasha Cohen. That's mine. Not sure what yours name is. Yours, yeah. I, oh, man. I also think that starting with someone like a specific person and just trying to do their voice over and over. I think that's what I'm gonna do too. Yo, Slick's here.
So and the more practice you give it in and out of character, the better.
Oh yeah, do you said you did your voices in like chats and stuff. Do you do no. Do you do oh, your voices on accident at like restaurants or something?
I do it to my kids because it makes them look at me funny, and it's my mission in life to embarrass my children.
Perfect.
So so in any opportunity I get to, the youngest one, I would pass through the room while she would be talking to friends online, and she streams also, but she streams her artwork. And I would pass through the room and I'd say something really obnoxious in some weird voice, and then I'd hear, "Seriously, Mom," with just dripping with exasperation at at me. It makes my day. There's nothing better in the world. Like I raised them and I had to be embarrassed with them everywhere we went. So it's now my turn.
That's perfect. Not to put the pressure on you, chat, but you're welcome to ask questions if you want. Let me see if I hit all of mine. Check. Mm-hmm. Man, I added so many questions.
You added more. Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, from the earlier ones. Like I said, I think I've done 7 of these or something. What I think would be interesting is, since this idea, interview kind of thing came from a discussion that a bunch of the streamers and stuff had on Discord last chapter, and thought it would be interesting to maybe have like a 5-person roundtable kind of thing like this. Maybe not necessarily with me in it, but some other people. That would be cool.
That would be awesome. That'd be fun to see. Denver, I'll bring back the newspaper if I can get some more people to participate in it. I definitely intended there to be a volume 2. Okay, so Flameheart, and I don't want to spoil anything, and I don't know what's going to come of what was said, but I do know that Flameheart snuck into Vanallis' stream one day, and he was talking about what was to come, and Flameheart mentioned something about the newspaper, and Vanallis said, "I think you're going to like what we have coming next." So here's the thing about the newspaper continuing is it was a lot of work, and it would need to be a lot less work this time around. And what I'd really like is for people to be a little more interactive in bringing the stories, because it kind of ended up being mostly my voice. And if I could say that there was any one particular disappointment I had about it, was that it was more me than anyone else. And I really wanted it to be the voice of the people, which requires for more of the people to participate in terms of sharing their news with the rest of their world. And there were so many people who were like, "Oh, I got a great story about this." And I go, "Well, hey, could you write that down for me?" And send it to me. And then I'd be like, "Hey, send it in Discord." And I'd never get them.
Yeah.
Right. Because it would just be easier to copy paste. Or I'd get a letter in the mail and they would have written it off the paper, and then I wouldn't even know who sent it because they wouldn't put anything in the thing to say who it was from. And they'd be like, "Well, did you ever get my story? I signed it at the bottom." And I'd be like, "Well, if you sent that long one that ran off the paper, I have no idea who you are." Right. So we wouldn't have any idea who they were or where they lived. And I couldn't quote their story. I'd only have half the story. So if people were willing to be more contributive to it and really make it the voice of the people, which is what it's supposed to be, then I would definitely do it. And if they also made it easier for us to make copies of the paper, because I got to tell you, copy paste 15 to 20 times 75 copies in the newspaper was a lot. We had anywhere from 15 to 20 pages of the paper, and we copied them 75 times each. That was quite a lot of work for people to do. I mean, we were in the middle of the night yawning, trying to stay awake doing that. We could have done a fake weather forecast, but it would have been cyclones at sea today. And then by the time you got it, well, of course there'll always be cyclones at sea.
Right. I assume that's why you sort of switched it up and you put out the specifics. I'm looking for this type of story, willing to pay, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Towards the end, I was definitely willing to pay. I wanted to continue it, but it was just, it was difficult to kind of pull the threads out to get a new story every week. And then I was chasing certain stories, but it just wouldn't work out time-wise, or it wouldn't work out in character. That's the hard one to accept, when it won't work out in character, because you want to go on the backside and out of character, trying to finagle it into place as hard as you can. And some people are like, I'm not going to go out of character and discuss this in any way, shape, or form. It's either going to happen in character or it's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, I really want to bring this to the people. I really want people to be able to see this. And that was the difficult part, was trying to get in character information in time to be able to act on it. And lots of times we just couldn't. So
I handed out your flyers to people.
Thank you very much. And we were willing to pay. That didn't seem to be much of a motivator. I don't know what else we could have done. Cookies, maybe. Maybe they'll put cookies in and we can give out cookies for things. Cookies are a great motivator, at least in my house. That seems to work in my house. Unload the dishwasher and you can have cookies. That works. Write a newspaper story and get a cookie.
Do you think that the amount of time and effort and probably copying, pasting, you think that cut into the RP that you could do, or was there enough searching for the paper stories that it didn't matter?
There wasn't as much searching for the paper stories as there was back end work to do.
Yeah.
There were definitely, like, Thursday through Sunday was definitely concentrated on getting the newspaper produced. Flameheart would be like, what are you doing today? And it's like, I'm writing today. So there were definitely, and trying to get out to find people and knowing where to go to get stories. And then there was also, you have to still keep, like, I joked around that Mhyrridian didn't care as much about going into certain ports as she maybe should have, but she did. She did definitely value her life, and hunting down those stories, she valued it even more the closer that she and Flameheart got. So we had to be careful where I went. I didn't know if it was appropriate for me to risk Mhyrridian's life in that way, or to risk her being captured or harmed. And probably, like, particularly, I'll share with you, we found, was it North? It was North something. Mm-hmm. It was Black Wake, whatever company they were masquerading as.
Points North.
We found Points North. We found their, what we assumed to be their contraband stash. And we snooped around their Points North location. At the whole time, Flameheart was having a heart attack, because I was
perfect.
I mean, because remember I said that Mhyrridian came from being a Queen's Court spy, right? So that was in her to start with. So it was something to her to be in that place, in that moment, that adrenaline pumping moment. But it was also, we had to kind of come away with a concrete story. I could have made fabrications. I could have said, at this location they have contraband. They could have moved it in no time flat, but whatever. But it was fun in those moments. Be careful about, and if Mhyrridian had died, the paper would have died in that moment too. So I had to be very careful about that. Um, I think I would have liked to have chased stories a little more aggressively than I did, but I had to be careful to place a certain value for her life within her.
Yeah. Isn't it wild how you suddenly, maybe not suddenly, but you act so differently when something like that shouldn't normally matter or is relying on you or whatever? I think that's wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't want it to matter as much as it did. I wanted to be more cavalier about it. But then I had to realize, or at least Mhyrridian had to realize, that it did matter more than she wanted it to.
Yeah.
She had to be careful. Yeah.
Robin and I went to Blackwake, or not Blackwake, Black Coalition, and it had never ever mattered. Well, I guess with Vivi, but like I mean, Boxer would have walked into all of Black Coalition and just been shot over and over and over. But as soon as there was another fake person next to me, I was like, "Can't do this, man. It can't. We can't go in here. We can't risk it. Like all of that stuff."
Yeah. Did that have to do with Boxer's care for Robin, or was that just human care for another human being? Like maybe
Um,
he's cavalier about himself, but couldn't be cavalier with someone.
yeah, probably the latter. I mean, he did care about Robin, but even with like Vivi and stuff, like and Elizabeth, the way I sailed, the way I sailed with other people on the ship was a lot different because like the ship can sink, I can lose everything, it doesn't matter, but a single person on the ship is so important that like I'm
Do
not
you think?
I'm not going to lose the ship.
Do you think though that that might have cheated them out of an authentic Boxer experience?
No, I don't think so because a lot of the experience was here's what went wrong as a story. I almost never took anyone somewhere that actually I don't think I ever took anyone anywhere dangerous except for Robin because she said um I want to go there and I was like I want to go there too. Let's freaking go. Um but like anytime someone was on the ship or we were exploring or whatever, it was never like that. You know what I mean? So I don't think that
Yeah.
in
Okay.
sailing a different way they missed out because um I didn't want them to lose things. Boxer wouldn't want them to lose things. I don't know. Just because he didn't care about stuff doesn't mean that he didn't want to give people gifts and they care about stuff,
Right.
you know? So,
Or that he would care about them. Did he? Because he made maybe he cared more about people than things.
oh, for sure. For
Is
sure.
that true?
And animals.
Yeah.
I cared a lot about animals.
I thought PETA was a very interesting idea, and I liked how they acted on PETA. That was pretty good.
I agree. But I only heard about PETA from other people. I never witnessed any sort of picketing or anything like that. But
Picketing would have been great. A
yeah.
way for them to picket would have been great. But yeah.
I think they did blockade some people sometimes, or they stormed the Navy docks or something like that. As a group. Oh God.
That's pretty awesome.
Once again, Flutter has arrived, and we have begun receiving pictures in my DMs of me in what are they called? Snapchat filters. So
Oh boy. Is that a good thing or?
apparently is going to happen every time that Flutter shows up. So
Okay.
it's better when there's two of us. When the other person has video because then there's pictures of both of us and it's funny.
Aw. I actually don't have people have been saying we really want you to video, and I've been saying, well, I have a 14-year-old streamer, and it's always been our home policy that we won't do things that we expressly forbid them from doing. We don't want their pictures out on the internet. We don't want them showing themselves to strangers. We've had some family issues with that sort of thing. So if I'm not going to let my 14-year-old with her art stream show pictures of herself, I'm not going to do it either. That might change as she gets a little bit older, but right now we're still kind of in that we haven't agreed to lift the family video and photo ban for online stuff yet. We put a lot of ourselves out there in terms of character and in terms of our creativity, because I'm a 3D artist and she draws and does some phenomenal art. She did the artwork for my stream. So I don't, we just, maybe we're being overprotective, but we don't do that sort of thing. So.
Oh, nailed it. Um, I don't like it personally. Um, but I understand like how seeing someone can like bring you into feeling that you're friends or whatever. So
You know what I like most as an audience member about people doing it is the facial expressions that people make. Like Effie, when she turns her video on, I love that she does it, and she makes some great facial expressions, particularly when she's in character. You see that character kind of come across in her facial expressions, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. But I don't think people should do it just because someone says this will make you a successful streamer if you do it, because it's not, there's no like one thing that will actually do that.
Sure.
So you have to be very comfortable with yourself and with other people for you to do that. So
I don't really like it when RPing because then I have to crop it out. I guess basically.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like Gob and I have talked about how we're streaming
You're not
because,
acting to the camera. You're just
well, not that, but we're streaming just to show people that like the small timers out there or whatever, like, they're cool and we want to show that they're doing funny stuff, and I don't want to be on it. I want it to be about them, so it should be.
yeah. Yeah. I like showing that it's fun and that you can have fun goofing about. So, but I do like to see the facial expressions that people make when they're in character and see how that changes their, just how that expressiveness comes out, how we express that how it comes out of us. Great. Anyways.
Yeah. Having a toggle, yeah, that's good. I would like to have the like click click, but I haven't put any effort at all into my stream because every single time I thought I'm going to put effort in, I wound up just RPing instead. So
It's the best. It's the
log
best.
into
And
the
I like to
game
see
or
what other people get up to. Yeah.
the green screen is a I made it sort of. It's the cloth, you know what I mean, the like green cloth, and then it's clipped to the closet on this side over here that I can't point at, and then on that side there's a PVC pipe that's clipped to the ceiling fan to hold the other side.
That's great.
And I
No
already
way.
had the
I'd show the
PVC
whole
pipe.
mess.
Yep.
You'd see the whole mess. Like, well, it's not too bad of a mess right now, but like, you'd see my whole bedroom and everything because that's where I am. I wouldn't bother with the green screen. But
Turn
anyways.
on the ceiling fan. It's clipped to the the chain that you pull. It's clipped onto that, and so the fan turns off because it pulls, like if a dog walks through the freaking thing, it turns off the fan. Oh, and I lost my freaking focus. And there's a cat touching it right now. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I don't have any more questions. We're just chilling at this point. Yeah. I really
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and I've had a lot of fun talking your face off this afternoon.
yes.
You said for an hour, and I think we've kind of gone well past an hour. We're at the 2 hour mark.
2 hours and 5 minutes. Yeah, but I mean, I think
can talk your.
I think it's that your opinion is like so important, and a lot of these interviews I've done are with people who like I super value your opinion, and yeah, I just think it's important to talk to y'all. So I'm gonna look for a raid, Lordy Bajornies. I'm not gonna read out whatever like I did last time because that was a mistake.
And then you're gonna come play WoW with us, is that right?
I am.
Yay! Squee!
Look, I've been really trying not to get back into WoW, but I like WoW a lot.
I got burnt out on it for a while there, but this classic just makes me so nostalgic, and it's like
I hate vanilla. I hate vanilla a lot.
really.
Yes. I spent all of vanilla. What's it called?
We're Alliance, by the way. If you're a Horde for life kind of person.
No. I started.
Okay.
Night Elf is the best because of Shadow Meld. So there you go.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't have anyone to raid, and you're not streaming, so
nope. I start at 7:30 this evening Eastern time.
Oh snap!
And maybe we can have a heart over there with us, and he'll be on stream, and I'll be talking in chat and dying.
Oh God, I have to speak.
I did that so many times last night. I would be talking to stream chat and then run off and leave Flameheart in the dust, and he'd be like, I'm terrible. I'm so terrible.
Wow. I don't have anyone to raid. Really? I guess Hellbound.
Thanks for sticking it out with us, everybody. You guys are great.
Yeah.
You're wonderful for sticking it out and for visiting us today. Thank you. For letting me visit your Have Heart.
Oh no, this is. Give us a link.
You want a link?
One.
Okay.
Oh my. I got it. For the third time. Why didn't you click it the other 2 times? Were you not paying attention?
Come follow me when I streamed. If you follow me now, I'll have to sing to you and you won't be there to see it. So,
good point.
You'll make me have to sing on stream.
Oh my gosh.
Although they're starting to bribe me not to do it in Discord. Anything. Just do whatever she wants. Don't let her start.
Oh man.
It's great. I love it. I'm telling you, embarrassing people is like my life thing. I started doing it to my children, and now I do it to others. Make her stop. Make her stop. We're leaving.
We're leaving.
She quit.
We're leaving this, whatever this is called. Stream. That's where we're at.
You have to join. You have to join or you won't see it. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Oh God, I gotta click this. Oh my God. All right, nailed it. I missed it.
Are we done?
Oh yeah. So